Hello, how y'all doing? I heard somebody say the other day that they had a confession to make that they were terrible at keeping a sketchbook practice. And sorry for the sound. And I am too. The thing is, I'm checking the sound and all this. This is the one from this past Monday. I am awful at keeping a sketchbook. Awful. And I want to work on that. And one way that I started working on that was doing the master studies on Mondays. And I started that at the end of 2024. Anyway, this was last week's. This is a sergeant that I did this charcoal. And before I start, just so you know, I had to flip between these two different sketchbooks because they didn't dry fast enough for me to turn the page. So there are a couple that I put on here on watercolor paper. The reason was this white that I got from Paul Rubens. Let me look here. It's all in Chinese. I can't read it. Ooh. I was hoping it would have the binder listed, but it doesn't. Anyway, I'll look it up later. It would take forever to dry, so I had to flip between. Yeah, anyway. So the paintings that I'm going to go through are not consecutive. They'll kind of go back and forth, just so you know. And I don't know if you can hear that. That is a siren that is going off in my small town for like the volunteer fire department and storm warnings and all that. They check it every Monday at noon. I am going to edit this and put it as a regular video, but I figured there might be somebody that would want to see it live. So here we go. This is Jean Chardin, and forgive me if I pronounce names incorrectly. I am not very proficient in languages. I barely speak English. This is an oil painting study that I did on watercolor paper on September the 8th, and I wrote notes about the artist that would give me, timelines, things like that. This one I've got his birthday, his day of death, what colors he used. He used earthy tones. He was married twice. His eyesight weakened in the 70s, and so he began doing pastel portraiture. I'm not sure how that worked, if that, I'll have to look and see what his later work looked like. I'm going to try and spend about a minute max on each one of these so we can get through them. This one is Giorgio Morandi, and it is also on that watercolor paper, and it was done September 1st of this year. He was born in Italy in 1890. He died in 64 of lung cancer. He was an Italian painter, printmaker, and he almost lived like a monk's life. His house was very sparse, and things were just very... I took from what I read that Marie Kondo would love his house. He lived most of his life in a modest apartment with his 3 unmarried sisters. And as you can see, it's just very serene and very calm. Okay, this is book 1. Just set that over there. How's that? Get my phone out of there. This, of course, is Mary Cassatt. This is a detail. Most of all of these are details of a larger piece because I'm working on After I tape it off, I'm working on an 8 by 8 inch square here. So I took a section of it that I wanted to know more about. This one was done in June 30th. Again, oil on gessoed paper. And I have her palette written down. She was born in 1844 and died in 1926. It lists this long list of colors, but it says that her palette may have been more selective according to the subject that she was doing. So there's her simplified palette was titanium white, Naples yellow, yellow ochre, alizarin crimson, vermilion or cad red light, cobalt blue, viridian, and raw umber. And that was the simplified palette. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 colors. Okay. So I love this little line right here. I don't remember doing that even. But I love that right there. Okay, this is Paula Rigo. And I did this in July 7th. Again, all of these are going to be oil unless I specify otherwise. He never really published a list of what colors he used. He was born in Lisbon and then went to and lived most of his life in London. Used bold primaries and high contrast, earth-colored neutrals, strong use of shadow and darkness. Unexpected lurid accents, like a bright color jarring accent. Like if you were to see this whole thing, I want to say there was like a lime green or something a little small, like over in here. That's what would be in my mind anyway, if I were to add a jarring accent to it. Maybe even something like a neon orange, just a little like belt or a little flower or something. Anywho, this is Emil Carlsen, 1848, born in Copenhagen, Denmark, and died in 1932 in the United States. Then I've got a full list of his palette. He was known for doing quiet, atmospheric still lifes and landscapes. I don't have a whole lot besides that on there. I do remember when I did this though, there's like, it's almost like hatch marks. Instead of brush marks or brush strokes, there's little, yeah, if you look real close in there, you can see. And when I edit this, I'll zoom in on there so you can see the little hatching marks. And of course, we all know who this is. This is Georgia O'Keeffe, one of the most influential American artists of the 20th century. Mother of American modernism. She was known for large-scale flower paintings, desert landscapes, bones, and abstract forms. This would have been huge. This would be like a thumbnail for her. We're talking huge. Beautiful. So the canvas almost absorbs you into it. She was born in 1887 in Wisconsin and died in Santa Fe, Mexico in 1986. Wow. She was 98 years old. She did have macular degeneration later on in her life, and so she switched to sculpture. But yeah. This is Janet Fish. She does very detailed paintings, high contrast, transparent glass work, cellophane, which you can see here, glass pitchers with fruit, high contrast lighting, and highly detailed. She was very shy and introverted, which I find interesting. She was born in 1938 in Boston, and as of this recording in November of 85, November of 25. She's still alive. So I hope she's still producing work. This is Van Gogh. He was born in 1853 and died in 1890. He was a Dutch post-impressionist. He was born in Zundert, Netherlands. He, of course, we all know who, the paint on here is really thick. We all know Van Gogh, but if you're not familiar with how he worked with very bold colors, expressive brushworks, and he only really painted for the last 10 years of his life, but he produced over 2,000 works. He died from a gunshot wound, and there's some controversy on how that gunshot wound occurred. There's different theories. Some say that it was a self-inflicted gunshot. Some say it was some local boys that were kind of teasing him and things got carried away and he lied to cover up for them. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, this is a study of a detail of oleander. Then this one is Henry Fantine Latour. Again, excuse me if I cannot pronounce it correctly. He was born in 1836 in France. He died in 1904. And then I have a very long list of the paints that he would use on his palette. He had a lifelong friendship with James Whistler, aka Whistler's mother. Okay. He admired Monet, he knew Degas, and he briefly worked in Courbet's studio, and he had admired Wagner's music. He tended to use a very subdued palette. There's not colors that just knock you over the head in here. They're all very kind of knocked back a little bit. Then this was one that I just did some test swatches of some oil paint sticks. And then this was some Posca pans and then this is Madame X, of course. I do wish I had done this shoulder a little better. I wish this right here were just a hair darker, so it gave it that curve form. Let's see, Sargent was born in 1856, died in 1925. This one is a full figure painting, if you were to see the whole thing. It was very controversial. He had this strap over here, was kind of hanging down as if it were falling off. And there was a lot of pearl clutching because it looked very seductive. She was said to have a ruined reputation. But I don't know if that's true because I read something else too. History, when it was written, may have said that, but in hindsight, they may have a different viewpoint on it. Sargent almost lost his entire career. It was a huge scandal. He used a practical palette for Madame X. Let's see, titanium white, flake white, lead white. Well, let's just see. I don't think you want to know every single color he used, unless you're planning on doing it. He never married, and it was rumored that he was gay, but there was never any proof either way. But his private life was very, very private. That paint here is still tacky. I don't know if you can see it there. It looks like some of the ink from that little Post-it got on there. Ooh, okay. Anywho, this is Madam X. She was, the model was said to have lavender skin and used like a lavender powder to make it even appear more so. She would use blush on her ears. What else? I think that's about it. That's about all I've got on that right there. This, I love this artist, and I don't think others love him as much as I do. But this is Francisco Goya. He was born in 1746 and died in 1828. I did this one more just for my own personal, because I just find him such an interesting person. He did these black paintings, is what they called them, toward the end of his life. And he lived in this house, and it was called the Quinta del Sordo, which means the house of the deaf man. The house that he lived in was previously lived in by a man that was deaf, and before Goya moved into it, he also became deaf. And I never really found out why. It just said that he became ill and lost his hearing. At the very first of his career, he created portraits for the royal court. He also did satire. He did etchings making fun of the church during the Spanish Inquisition. But it looks like he got away with it because he had friends in the court that he had painted, and so he was in good with the people in the monarchy. But the church was kind of when it came to Goya. These were originally painted on his walls of his home, and then after his death they were removed and put on canvas. This is Saturn devouring his son, and the actual measurement of it, and this image comes down in here too with the bodies, and there's some more dark up here. Anyway, the actual size of it is 4.7 by 2.7 feet. So it's not huge, but it's a decent size. The black paintings, the palette colors were bone black and lamp black, yellow ochre, red ochre, and raw umber were the main colors that he used, and then a lead white. For like the bloody parts, he used vermilion. Let's see. He used lead white, but I would be using titanium white, of course, because of the toxicity. His paints had either walnut or linseed oil for a binder. Both were popular at that time. I think that's it. That's all of them. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. That's all. Oh, that's all those. I almost forgot I had a second book. I'm okay. I'm okay. Okay, this is Philip Guston. He is Canadian, apparently. He was born in 1913 in Montreal, and then he died in 1980 in Woodstock. He used a very limited palette. There's something on that page. Whoops. Oh, I'm not going to worry about it. He used a limited palette of cadmium red, titanium white, Mars black, yellow ochre, and occasionally he would use a cobalt blue light, which is what this is. His style is raw, satirical, and politically charged. And I say that even though you're looking at cherries and watermelon on a plate, He did some that were of KKK, just things that were very controversial and very politically charged is a good word, or a good comment. And that's all I have on that one. And also, these would have been great big too. Oh, and I did this in August, August 18th. This is Raphael Peale. This is a study on oil paint on gesso. I did it on August 25th. Let's see what it says about Mr. Peale. He was born in 1774. Now remember, 1776 for the U.S. was the good date to kind of pinpoint where he was at politically and socially. He died in 1825 in Philadelphia. He is considered America's first professional still life painter. He worked in his father's taxidermy museum, or a museum that had taxidermy. He was quiet, reflective, and subtle. He did deal with alcoholism and health issues, and from what I read, there was a lot of speculation that some of his health issues were not just caused by the alcoholism, but were caused by the chemicals that he had to work with doing his helping with the taxidermy in the museum. It's said to be very labor intensive and very back-breaking work at times, and it just kind of wore him down. I haven't given any judgments on these. You know, do I like this? Do I like that? This one, I don't like. I don't like how it came out. I remember struggling with it. It doesn't look, yeah. The ellipses are all out of whack. Clara Peters, born in 1588, and this is a detail. There was a large still life over here of bread loaves, or loaves of bread, and glassware, and I was mainly interested in this little one that was off in the corner. And I like how the bread came out. It came out kind of cool. It's got some neat texture on it right there, and right there. But I don't like this. If I could just, yeah, or just repaint it. But it's a study, so it's not supposed to be. She was born in 1588 in Antwerp, which is modern Belgium. They could not find a death information on her. They don't know. They found somebody with the same name nearby that had married, and so they don't know if she passed away or if she got married and then put up her paintbrushes. So this one I did on September 24th. They're not sure if she ever married. About 40 paintings survive, and almost all of them are still lifes. And if you look in them, in some of these on her paintings where there's like reflections, you can see her self-portrait in it, which I think was really cool. She worked with a restricted palette, which was similar to her contemporaries. And then I go through the colors that she probably used. Oh, there's not that many. Lead white, lead tin yellow, vermilion, red lakes, madder or cochineal. Yeah, you know what I mean. The one made by insect. Ochres and umbers, azurite or ultramarine, and it would have been ultra expensive. Bone black, and again, they're not sure when she passed away. So she only painted, she didn't paint for very long. Oh, and they're not sure about her birth date being in 1588. It might have been 1590. The records are kind of as would be expected for back then. This is Mr. Cezanne. I like this one. I did this one on September 29th of this year. I'm making pretty good time. Okay, Paul Cezanne. He was born in 1839 in France, and then he died in 1906. He married Hortense Ficquot. Again, I know I'm butchering it. And he had one son that was Paul. Critics often ridiculed him because he painted in these like planes. Like this is not totally round. There's like this yellow, and then there's green, and then there's this part, and then there's this part. I mean, you can see it in here too. Critics often ridiculed him, but he's now seen as a revolutionary. Picasso famously said Cezanne is the father of us all. He simplified into geometric forms, and when he went in 1906, he was caught in a storm while painting outside and developed pneumonia and passed away. So how old would he have been? 1839, let's see, 65, more than 65. And then this one is Wayne Thiebaud. This is a very section. I wish I had done like his pies or something like that. So these were bigger. He used complementary colors. Some of these were not totally dry when I shut the page. Okay. Wayne Thiebaud. He was born in 1920 and died on Christmas Day in 2021. He was born in Mesa, Arizona, and he passed away in Sacramento, California. He painted ordinary subject using extraordinary color. Let's see, complemented colors next to each other. Like you can see the greenish, and then there's red here. What else? There's like some purplish down here, and then there's orange. There's green next to the red again. Orange next to a bluish purple. You get the idea. Let's see. During World War II, he worked as an Air Force artist. He was a teacher and mentor at UC Davis. He was married twice, and he used impasto paint, or really thick paint. This would have been nice and juicy. He's often grouped with pop artists like Warhol and Lichtenstein. He was known to be gentle, funny, and precise. And he said, common things are just as important as grand things. Also, he is quoted as saying, painting is just the best thing to do. It's the most wonderful game in the world. And then these were some color swatches I did of some Gamblin paints. And that's it in this one. Anybody has any questions or anything? That's for the flip through of what they are. On this one, I didn't really care for this one, this Morandi. You know, it was interesting doing these shapes the way he did them and doing the subdued colors, but it just wasn't really my thing. I love doing the copper on this one. I love copper, metal. In fact, it made me go and pull out some things that were that I have in still life. And I'm doing this at the end in case nobody cares what I think about, yeah. I had trouble with the feathery part up here. It it doesn't have the texture that I wanted. I really like this little line right through here, right through there. There's a little yellow line, and I really like it next to these blues, and it's loose. I like how some of these textures came out. This was very close to the same colors that he used. I love doing people when they're asleep. I had a class I took that was like an independent study in my graduate work, and I did nothing but drawings of my children while they were sleeping, which was, yeah, it was really fun. I like how this hand turned out. This I love. I love this. The paint's juicy, and the color mixing, and yeah, I need to find out more about, yeah. The thing is, I went through some old work last night when I couldn't sleep. I was going through it on my phone, and you know how you do something and you're done with it, and you think, oh man, I did it, that's awesome. And then you look back at it a couple of years later and you're like, oh man, did I really think that was very good? So I need to start painting every day. And this is how I want to paint. That juicy, textural, mixing the colors, and yeah. Georgia O'Keeffe, her personality, I think I like more than her paintings. I could definitely live with her work, but she was just such an independent woman, and I love that. I love seeing that. My generation needed that. I graduated high school in 82, and she passed away in 86. So she was very much, yeah, our timelines kind of cross paths. Janet Fish, this was not one of my favorite paintings of hers. She's done other ones that are much more detailed, but the reflections is what gets me. How she breaks these down into shapes is nice. Van Gogh, what can you say bad about Van Gogh? Again, the juicy colors, the brushwork, the fact that he was so prolific. I wish I was that prolific. This one I liked just because I would hang this in my house. These details on the roses are very subtle. There's just a little touch of pink or a maroon in here. And this vase, this clear vase, how it looks, you can see the transparency in it. There's not a lot of high contrast, so it's just very soft and very, yeah. And those are Sargent. I love Sargent. Again, brushwork. When I painted this, I pointed out it looks like she does not have a collarbone, but she does. It's just very, 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 very subtle. His skin tones. Goya, I don't like his early work. It's tight. Yeah. But his later work that he did, these black paintings, I absolutely love. And he did not mean for these to be seen, we don't think. He did these, like I said, on his walls of his home, but just the simplified palette, the emotional quality of it. He did some other things that were politically motivated because he was alive during the Spanish Inquisition. If you're not familiar, this is Saturn from mythology, and he is devouring his son because his son is supposed to rise up, and a son is supposed to rise up and take over, and he didn't want that to happen. Okay. I really like this guy's, excuse poncho. This guy's, again, simplified palette. He did some color mixing more so in here with the watermelon. It's very joyful. But then he's also got that work, like I said, with the KKK and some other things that are very thought-provoking. But these bright colors just... This guy, I like the transparency in the orange and how this orange peel turned out here. But most of his work is too... it's not what I would aim to do, which is sad because it's kind of like what I've been doing, and I need to break up beyond that. But this, yeah, like this right here, I find this really, and this, yeah. He was born in 1774, so I don't mean academic is a bad thing, because sometimes my work is very academic, but it just doesn't have any oomph to me, even though the skill of getting the textures, and this one was just sad on my part. Her work could be considered academic, but it's also way above what anything I've done. So, yeah. I would not take this, if I were you, as an example of her work, because her work is beyond this. It's so much better. It's, yeah. It's like this is sitting out in the alley, and her work's on the front porch. I mean, it's awesome. Again, I really like these simplified shapes. I like the plate, how you can tell that it has a scallop on it here, but he didn't do it in minute detail. This was Cezanne. I like that. I need to study some of his landscapes because, well, I'm in Kansas, in a very rural area. Most of his have mountains in it. Anyway, for color studies, I need to do color studies. But this right here, this reflection, I really like that. Thibaut, like I said, I prefer his ones of pies and cakes. They're just very joyful and look very... I don't know, they just really pop with these complementary colors. They're just, yeah. And then this, if you don't know, this was some paints that I bought from Gamblin, these three, that were reclaimed colors. They go to mining areas and get the rust and the ochres and things out of the water and the surrounding area, and repurpose them for artworks. This has kind of a violet to it. It's called Iron Violet. Anyway, I did that November 6th. Anywho, okay, now we're completely done. Does anybody have any questions or anything, or insights, observations? I think we did pretty well on time. Ooh, we did. It's 20 minutes till 1. I started this at 12. We're good, I tell you. Master Study Monday, I don't know what's going to become of it. I'm leaving it kind of loosey-goosey right now because, as I said, I need to get more of my own work completed. And what I'm probably going to do is just leave it for right now until the end of the year as like an open studio time. Whatever I'm working on, I will have some type of project or painting session related to it, so that we can keep meeting on Mondays. But it has a weird texture to it. But it'll work with for what I need. Anyway, I'm babbling. Okay, I hope you all are having a wonderful Monday. I will see you all later. And again, I'm going to edit this and put it as a regular video. Oh, you might find this interesting while I've got you live. I ordered this tube of paint, and they put it in like a bubble envelope and just sent it off. And it arrived like that. Yeah. So yeah, I need to do some swatches of some colors and things. Some color mixing, some color studies. All right, I'll let y'all go. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so, so much. I will catch y'all later, and take care and be safe. All right.